You're a Manchester United fan,
I am.
and you saw the Ronaldo interview?
I did. Great
I'm
interview.
going to get your reaction to Ronaldo after the break. Welcome back to Piers Uncensored. Brian Cox is still with me. Brian, you're a Man United fan, the biggest star arguably United's ever had. Cristiano Ronaldo went public in this big interview with me. Let's just have a reminder of some of the things he said. They're trying to force you out, you guess.
Not only the coach, but the other 2 or 3 guys there around the club.
At the senior executive level.
Yes, that I felt betrayed. I don't know what's going on, but since the Sir Alex Ferguson left, I saw not evolution in the club. The progress was zero. The Glazers, they don't care about the club. The empathy with the coach is not good. I'm honest.
You don't have a good relationship with him?
I'm not mean good relationship.
Do you think he respects you?
I think you don't respect the way I should deserve.
Well, you must have been worried sick. I mean,
I was very worried.
You lost your baby son, and now your baby daughter's in hospital.
Exactly. Kind of that didn't believe that something going wrong, which is make me feel bad.
Really?
Yes.
They didn't believe you.
They believe it, but in the same way, their piece ever gonna change the health of my family for the football. Never.
Cristiano Ronaldo, that interview's now been viewed 15 million times on our YouTube channel. 45 million more views of the clips on social media, making it one of the biggest, most watched interviews in history, certainly for sport. What did you make of it, Brian? I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo, United legend, torching really the club. What did you think?
Well, I think I can see where he's coming from. But he also has to understand that it is not Alex Ferguson anymore. It's not that United. And I could see that there was probably a great sentimental movement to go back to the club where he really began, where it all began. And Alex, well, you know, there's nobody like Alex Ferguson.
And Alex persuaded him.
And Alex persuaded to come back.
Yeah.
Well, naturally, because Alex loves the club, he's trying to keep the club. But the club has gone through so many changes in the last few years. Now, playing for Juventus and playing for Real Madrid, and their clubs have been in an incredible, they haven't stopped, they're just the top of the league. Manchester United has not been playing well over the last few years, but it's beginning to get its mojo back. And I think it's unfortunate that this has happened. And
is he entitled to speak out, do you think?
Well, of course he's entitled to speak out, but also one has to examine exactly where he's coming from. And I think he's coming from a place where he's saying, you know, I wanted to go back to a beginning. I wanted to go back to that glory days where I was a young boy. And I understand.
He said his heart ruled his head to a degree.
His heart ruled his head to a degree. And in a sense, that's going to be difficult, and a manager who's trying to create a new club, and there's going to be a clash.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite tragic, actually, and it's tragic for him, but it's also tragic for the club.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the club has to be given a break on this. I mean, I do think it's hard. It's clearly hard because his expectation must have been huge. And especially if Alex persuaded him to go back, that must have been a huge thing. But he's been disappointed. And you can't take away his disappointment because it is not the same club that he was at all those years ago. And have
you ever had a situation in your career when you've been tempted to walk out? Have you walked out of a show, a play, a TV show, anything like that?
No. I'm clever enough to avoid going into those situations.
Have you seen people do it?
Yeah, I've seen people walk away, and I've understood why they do it, and it's usually complex reasons.
I mean, I did it, actually.
Well, yeah.
But I did it because actually, when I listened to Ronaldo, I sort of thought, it actually comes down to respect. I think it doesn't matter what the job is, if you actually feel disrespected in your workplace.
That's right.
And you feel you're being forced down an alleyway you don't want to go down. I actually think there's a certain merit in just saying, actually, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe. I'm glad the interviews had the coverage that it's had in terms of. Amazing. 15 million is quite incredible. But at the same time, I'm going. It's rather sad that that's the view you're going to get because, I think and certainly with his kids and with his family, and going back to Manchester is a difficult thing.
I think losing the baby in the tragedy with the twins and one died and one lived, that's got to really get to any human being.
And
so
also,
I think he wanted a bit more of an arm wrap.
Yeah, and he didn't get it.
Yeah.
And that's...
It may just really be as simple as that.
Yeah.
Talking of arm wraps, extraordinary series you've got on Channel 5, How the Other Half Live, both rich but particularly pertinently, I thought, the poor. And you went down for this series, you went to food banks. I want to show a little clip first and ask you about this.
Well, actually...
I come here every Friday so that I can feed my son over the weekend. We're working part-time and we still can't afford anything. Yeah. My electricity has gone up from £44 a month to £170 a month.
That's astronomical.
It really is hard going, it really is. We prioritise our children and go without, and I think that's what all adults and parents are doing just now, really, isn't it?
It's shocking how Dundee's gone pretty much full circle, getting back to the poverty I saw as a kid. It's extremely painful, this stuff. It's painful for anybody. If you've got any sensibility at all, this stuff is painful.
So they weren't, you just corrected me there, they weren't food banks, they're called community larders. Explain the distinction.
Well, the difference is what people feel about food banks is loss of dignity.
Yeah.
And the one thing that human beings have, even when they don't have any money, is some kind of dignity, some kind of feeling of well-being of who they are. And what the community larder does is it charges the minimal, but it means you're paying for something. So there's a transaction.
You're not being given it.
You're not being given it, and it's not begging, because a lot of being in food banks feels like begging. And the fact that they're being constantly legitimized is really irksome to me. But this community larder, run by these two amazing women who actually ran a playgroup, and it was out of a playgroup they decided to go on to this. And people like Lidl, Morrison's, they give stuff which is coming up to its sell-by date that then they can tap on. And the thing that you don't see in the program, which is one of my angers with my editors in that, anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the thing you don't see is a guy who came in at the community larder. He was called Peter Leet. He came in and he was a frail man with a stick, and he had a sign on his arm. And I said, so you do this for your family? And he said, no, I do it for people who can't get here.
It was 15 people he did it for, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. He said, I do it for them. He said, and I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, that's amazing. He said, I do sort of 5 a week. I do different groups, people who can't, older people who can't get down from the high rises. I said, that's extraordinary. And I said, so what's this sign? He said, I'm blind. And I just almost fell off my chair. I just thought...
But you got quite tearful, actually.
I did, because I just thought the heroism of this guy, this guy's a real hero. And I just thought, wow, this man has really given something of his life to this horrible situation and trying to make it better for other people.
So many people in this country, in the whole of the UK, are now literally on the poverty line.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to get worse before it gets any better. 11% inflation.